Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Samurai Brothers podcast. And Matthew, this is episode 20
20.
Of the podcast. So, kind of hard to believe that we've gotten this far. So,
A lot of podcasts don't make it this far, but we have.
yeah, we have. And, we do this because we love doing it. So that's why we put in the time, And I think we're able to do it like this format because it is a once a week format. You've got people who put full-time effort into this, so they're having to do, episodes pretty much every day, I think. And then on top of that, it's probably more than once a day too. So, for us, we just like doing what we do, talking Japan and MMA and wrestling and sumo and all sorts of other stuff. Yeah, all, just various things in general. So that's what we do. So anyway.
Speaking of which, Fresno Buddhist Temple had their Obon this weekend. I was contemplating going, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it this year. I've been to stateside Obon festivals before, but yeah, I just wasn't feeling it this year. Yeah. For those who don't know, Obon is essentially the Japanese Halloween in that it's honoring the ancestors.
Or more like the Mexican Day of the Dead, I think.
Yeah, that would be a better way of putting it.
Yes.
Except instead of skulls, you have lots and lots and lots of bright lights.
Yep, that's true. So anyway, Matthew, yeah, we got quite a few things to talk about here. Obviously, we had a UFC fight night, and I think it was, to make sure I pull this up to make sure I have it right, but it was Dos Anjos versus Fiziev, and that took place at the Apex in Las Vegas.
Yep, the UFC's home arena, which they ended up putting for good use during the pandemic.
Yes, I'm very sure.
That is the advantage of an MMA promotion having a home arena, because, Bellator didn't have a home arena, so they ended up taking residence at the, what was the, which Native American reservation? They ended up taking...
Oh, so yeah,
they end up taking residence at, I forget, why in the world am I drawing a blank on this Native American reservation? It's back east. It's in Massachusetts. Uncansville. I don't know. Either way. Yeah, either way, they took up residence at a Native American reservation. It's like, there wasn't anything going on there, so the reservation and, Bellator have had a long working relationship, so they probably just thought, you know what, we'll give you a flat rate for X number of events as long as possible, and we'll just have you guys doing that there. But I think also maybe the fact that Showbox events were also taking place there, so it wasn't just Bellator, it was more like the Showtime channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we have that, and then I think also the Nagoya Basho has started in sumo, so we'll be making sure to get in and covering that today too. But first thing, the what?
Nishi.
Oh yeah, that's the Yobidashi call, because they call out to who's going to be stepping onto the dohyo. So yeah, that's fun to do. So yeah, we're going to be talking about those two events today. But I think first though, Matthew, before we get into those, there were a couple of Japanese figures who unfortunately met with tragedy, and so I think we need to make sure that we discuss about them and remember them for the impact that they had on Japan and also in the world. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share about this, and let me see here. Make sure I can And oh, here it is. Yeah, this is what I'm going to screen share. Can you see the screen and everything?
Yep.
Okay, so and this was quite a shocking event because I found out about this late on Thursday night, because it happened Friday morning in Japan time. But for those who don't know, you had Shinzo Abe, who was the former prime minister of Japan, and he was tragically assassinated by gunshot wound while he was on a campaign trail for for the Liberal Democratic Party in Nara prefecture, and that was Abe was he was quite a long-serving figure because he's on record as having been the longest serving prime minister in Japan. Sometimes you get prime ministers, they don't even last up to a year in Japan, depending on how political or the social atmosphere is over there. But one thing I do know was he was famous around the world. One for his when he became prime minister the second time was his enaction of policies and reforms centered around what they called Abenomics, designed toward trying to improve things for Japan. And he came into office the second time in 2012, which typically that would be the second half of the Lehman Brothers shock recession that started in 2008. And so he stayed in office until 2020. So that meant that he worked with, you got President Obama, you got President Trump. And one thing that also came out of, he was opposed to communism. So obviously he had a really big head-to-head with, China, and he was always an outspoken ally of the United States. So this thing, and it was really
whereas
weird
whereas
because
some prime ministers, just depending on their stance, may have been a little bit more distant with the U.S. despite all the presence there and everything.
right, and it's really sad because this, and I'm betting this, and this was a former Jietai or self-defense force sailor who decided to take action and with a homemade shotgun to take out Abe. And
well, yeah, that's another thing we should probably emphasize is the fact that the Japanese gun laws are very strict.
very
And so if you're going to create your own gun, you're either going to get on the black market or you're going to cobble it together, which this guy did.
right. And and of all the things, this guy thought that Abe was connected to some cult, and it's like, really? I mean, what kind of I mean, honestly, for me, it has to be like, what kind of schizophrenia are you on?
Well, the one guy who tried to assassinate Reagan was under some delusion that he was in a relationship with Jodie Foster, and he thought, "Oh, I'm gonna kill Reagan to impress her," and then it's like it happens, and she went on record denouncing him, and then so we have genuine nuts who unfortunately take extreme action, unfortunately.
So yes, I try to look for, and here's the thing that bothered me was that you had I think I was looking at watching some other YouTubes and stuff, and you had some certain media outlets labeling Abe as a far right extremist, but these are the same outlets that are going to paint Fidel Castro as a visionary leader or something like that. And my thought is, just portray the man as he was. He was a leader. He was a politician that was looking out for the best interest of his people that he was serving. And that's why we have I think that's typically why we're having all this, polarized division today, in our arenas of left versus right and all that. That's why I get so sick of the politics that are being played here. Just report as it was. In my mind, I don't know what you would think about that.
Yeah.
Just hey, and what leader wouldn't want to be? I mean, he had what they call nationalist views, which is, hey, he's looking out for the Japanese people. I mean, so why would he not have nationalist views? So, but yeah, he was able to help lead them out of the recession at the time, and again, he was an ally of the U.S. So I think you got to give him the respect that he deserves in that case. So. Anyway, so he was campaigning in Nara, and he was, the attack happened at around 11:30, and then, less than 6 hours later, he was confirmed dead at Nara Medical University Hospital in Kashihara City, Nara Prefecture. And so the person who carried out the attack was Tetsuya Yamagami, and he was a former Jieitai or self-defense force member, so he was a sailor. So, and what I can appreciate about the Japanese politicians, no matter what side they were on, everyone, rallied around Abe, even with the slim to none chance that he had of surviving, they were all hoping that he would get better. Unfortunately, over here, you got people that are just so nutty that they have no problem wishing death
upon somebody based off of.
And again, that's why.
Which you and I both agree, and I can say this with 100% certainty because I know you well enough. We don't wish death on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
At least in terms of a political sense, in terms of political opponents, we don't wish death on anybody.
Yeah,
there's a finality to that, and it's just we don't want that for a political opponent. And unfortunately, just being on the online presence that I've been on, I've seen people literally wish death upon me, and I'm just not like as a threat, like they're saying that they're gonna take me out. They just like, it's more like I wish you would die type stuff. And I'm just like, are you serious? How have we gotten to that point where people literally wish death on someone else because of a political ideology?
So that's why I gotta say, anybody who's gonna go out and do that, you got some mental problems. You need to go and get help. Seriously. Just like in the Michael Jordan ad where he's saying, "Stop it, get some help." I'll have to send you the link for that because hey, it was more geared towards
that's become a meme on.
Yes, it has the Michael Jordan meme.
Yeah, I know. I follow something called I'm in the watchdog community of a group called the Sovereign Citizen Movement or the First Auditor Movement, which they're both very similar. But basically, they're conspiracy theorists who actually live their lives like the conspiracy is real, when in reality there's no legal standing for anything that these people are spouting. And whenever these people are when the watchdogs post these videos, they use that in order to take care of fair use, because the fair use policy says that if you're using it for commentary or political education, then you can and you specifically cite something, then you could make a video off of that if you're doing commentary on it. So what they'll do is they'll intersplice stuff like that, and that stop it, get some help. very often interspliced.
Well, you know what? And here's the other thing is that
he still hasn't wavered from that stance.
Well, yeah, because it was an anti-drug ad, and even nowadays, like the things are. I mean, I've never been around it. I don't know anybody who would be exposed to it, but you've got the issue with the fentanyl crossing the border, and apparently the fentanyl is so lethal and toxic that if you inhale fumes, it's going to make you sick. And so you've got police officers when they have to do like a raid or something, or if they find someone who's becoming a victim of an overdose of fentanyl, they're going to get hospitalized and stuff too. So kind of like how they say in the South, you got the one South Park character where he says, drugs are bad. It's like they are.
Mr.
I don't remember. It's like I'm not into
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's the counselor, right?
Yes, the school counselor. Anyway, so this is a very tragic event that happened. So
I've met people who use weed, but weed is, I see a lot of people saying that it should either be categorized, they should do it like alcohol or something like that, which, in some states they do, but it's like, at least with weed, I don't know if you can overdose on it. You can die from other problems related to it, like a allergic reaction.
You can be under the influence, and that's where it can be like alcohol. If you're driving under the influence, and you're in, your perception of time and stuff can be slowed down. So then that means that you could get into a car accident if you're driving.
Yeah, in terms of like the use of it, you're not gonna overdose. Which is something you can actually overdose on alcohol essentially.
Right.
But weed, you have to like smoke. You would have to like smoke who knows how much THC in order to actually overdose on it. So, but yeah, like you said, you can die from other secondary
effects.
Yeah, other secondary effects from it, but it does have medicinal uses. But
yes,
like with anything, it needs to be it needs to be regulated. I really think that it should be categorized as a what's it called?
I'm with you on that.
I think it should be categorized as a prescription drug. It has medical uses. That's been proven. You extract it, you get the CBD, and you've got no problem there.
I've seen a video where there was this person who was afflicted with severe Parkinson's, and by using marijuana, the shaking all stopped and stuff. So I can see where if you know what you're doing, it's going to be a benefit for those who might need that help. But so
it needs to be supervised. It needs to be done correctly.
Right.
I don't think it should be available recreationally. There's just too many problems that could go wrong with it. It's like, if I'm just going to say, if I were ever to become president of the United States, don't know how likely that would be, but if I were to become president of the United States, I would straight tell Congress, put a bill that makes it a prescription drug, and I'll sign it.
Yeah. So anyway,
that way, it's like you need a prescription, or I'm sure that like medical cards, because technically in California it's still only a medical use. So it's like a prescription, a medical card, something that says you're using it for medical use.
I thought they voted to legalize it here.
It's just
because it was a prop some time ago that the state of California voted to legalize marijuana for recreational use.
I think it's only under a certain amount. I think that's what
Right.
it is. You can't have it if like, for example, if you still like the people who have like these giant fields or giant without having like an actual license, like the medical distribution license. If you're growing it like in giant fields, you don't have the medical license. That's over X amount, and you could still be prosecuted for it. So it's not an absolute thing. It's basically if you have like one blunt, then that's not considered.
Right, you're not going to be prosecuted for it now.
Yeah, they're not going to take you in or anything like that. Now, on federal land, because federally it's still illegal, like you can't take it to a national park because that's federal land. You can't take it into a national building because that's federal land. You can't take it on a military base because that's federal land. You do that, you're going to get busted.
Yeah, I've read how, there would be some people like actually I've read where you had like I read how some Japanese people, they'll go to a state where marijuana is legal and they like might smoke it and stuff like that, and they go back to Japan and then they get like a blood test and then they find the THC in their system and then they get in big trouble. It's like, well, what were you what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's like it's illegal in Japan regardless. It's just straight up illegal.
So, anyway.
Can it even grow out there?
I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, so yeah, tragic event for that. So, hope for prayers for Abe's family and hopefully
youngest at age 52 to hold office since the end of World War II.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting on that. So
wasn't Abe the one who, I don't know, was it London or was it Rio where where they were doing that?
Yeah, he was the one who popped up as Mario. Yeah, I think
just goes to show he had a sense of humor.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Anyway, so rest in peace to Shinzo Abe. And another figure that we need to cover because what he did had a profound effect on our lives as far as recreation goes. So Matthew,
and still kind of has an effect on me.
It kind of still does, yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh creator Kazuo Takahashi, found deceased at age 60, floating off of the Japan coast. This is an article from Bounding into Comics. And just I guess he was vacationing in Okinawa and he was snorkeling, and then something happened to him because he had been renting a car, and the car, because he died, so then the car rental agency wasn't able to get a hold of him, because hey, he had their car. So they contacted police, and then they found him floating, out kind of, the ocean. And yeah, that's a real, and kind of similar to how the creator of Kureon Shinchan, he had gone hiking and then he slipped and fell and he passed away. But in this case, Kazuo Takahashi, real name Kazuo Takahashi.
Yeah, he had a pen name.
Yeah, that was his pen name. Found dead around 10:30 a.m. on July 6th. And so they said that he was probably dead 1 to 2 days prior to his body being found. So just about, the legacy that, Takahashi left, because this created not just a Japanese phenomenon, but a worldwide phenomenon, comparable to how Pokemon was, comparable to how, other card games like Magic the Gathering, and
it was on a similar, it's on a similar
and and the card game is recognized as having produced the most cards and being sold by Guinness World Records.
Well, yeah, because like Pokemon, the card game was a very specific thing, and you really had a lot more other stuff with regards to Pokemon, but with regards to like merchandise and the video games, the anime, the various manga connected to it, all of that. But Yu-Gi-Oh, the core thing was the card games. Oh, speaking of which, look what I got today.
Oh, wow. Ghosts from the Past. Second Haunting. So,
so for those of you who don't, so what?
Is that a reprint?
I think so. So, I haven't mentioned it on this I haven't mentioned it on this channel, but I've been kind of getting back into it. And one of the things is I've been building a deck, but here in the Central Valley, there's not a whole lot in terms of game collecting for specifically what I want to get, which was the old style decks. And I was actually gonna see if I couldn't buy something online because I wanted either a Kaiba deck or a Yugi deck, something that was kind of connected to them. But I wasn't having, I was having problems finding that stuff around here. There's no Blue Eyes. There's no Black, well, in the Japanese, it was called Black Magician. I'm pretty sure that the censors.
Dark Magician.
Oh, yeah. Are we going to talk about how heavily censored?
Well, you got to admit, some of the cards are a bit risque, too. Some of that stuff was a bit risque. I mean,
But one has to remember is that Japan, there's just stuff like violence and nudity is not considered inappropriate for younger kids.
Well, they've been cracking down on that within the last 20 years or so.
So since the first time we left.
Yeah, when we went to Japan, I mean, because I think the one was, remember the last Sailor Moon episode that aired? And Mom watched it first, and she was like, "You guys ain't watching this," because she had.
We did watch. She did let us watch.
Yeah, she did let us watch it.
She gave a very big parental warning.
Yeah, she did.
She was straight up nude.
Yeah, that's the thing, and well,
which was that was not in the manga. That was specifically for the Sailor Moon anime. Which the Sailor Moon anime, it's based off of the manga, but there's just a whole lot of differences.
Well, okay,
which is why I like Sailor Moon Crystal, the new Sailor Moon that just came. It's being produced. That's why I like that. Well,
see, here's the thing, because the original Sailor Moon anime, the way it was going, at first it started off as a shoujo anime because that's what it was geared towards. But I think the producers of the anime at that time saw that it was steadily gaining a male audience and a kind of an older male audience. So then they kind of started producing the anime to make it more geared towards that demographic. And I think Naoko Takeuchi didn't like the direction that it went. And I don't blame her because that's not what she intended it to be. So I think,
that's the problem with signing away like a certain amount of rights as the creator for your adaptation. We personally have talked about this. I've written a novel and I started writing a second novel, which I'm probably going to go back to working on it, but I'm going to tell you right now, if my novel ever made it big enough to get an adaptation, I would make sure that I had a huge amount of creative control when it came to what was in there and what was not, because I would want to make sure that my adaptation was not ruined by some,
Well, I thought about writing, because I've had some ideas for some novels, and I think I've shared with you. It was kind of like a fantasy type novel, but I probably wouldn't even sign. I probably wouldn't even sign it for a adaptation because I don't want Holly Weird to butcher it. Especially.
I would say you can adapt it, but there's certain things that are not going to be that cannot be compromised. And if you don't like that, it's like I'm sure that if there was enough of a demand and someone wanted it bad enough, they would give in. I would straight up say that the integrity of this adaptation is more important than any type of money that could possibly be made. And if you're not willing to accept those terms, then you don't deserve to adapt my vision. I would have caps on who could be cast, what direction they could do, what scenes could be cut, what scenes could be cut, what if you can add new characters, if you can't add new characters. I would specifically have all that written out in the contract, and I would want to be in charge of I would want to be part of the production. I would want to be on set for certain scenes. Like I would just be like, these are my demands, take it or leave it. Pure and simple. And if you don't like it, I'll someone else. It's like at that point it wouldn't be about the money. It would be about the integrity of my work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think although Takahashi, I think it didn't, because you could tell that I think there was a lot of things. Like I remember I would watch. Sometimes I would get home from school early enough that I could actually watch the anime, like when we were in Japan, so I could watch like the new episodes and stuff. And I could see how there was a lot of episodes that would delve from the actual the manga, because you remember reading the manga, right?
I at one point had the whole collection, but when we moved back stateside, we couldn't take everything, so my complete set of the manga was a casualty. The only manga that I had a complete set of, and it had to go. It was a victim of our move back to Japan.
Victim of the times.
Yeah, and something else. I watched one of those. One of the Yu-Gi-Oh commentary channels that talked about it, and he talked about how at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh, Takahashi wrote a message about how he's ending Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's when I reread that, I was just like, you know what? There was a finality to it, and as far as I'm concerned, that's it. The manga is it.
Right.
It's because that was his original canon. Any other adaptations were done by other people.
Right. Exactly. They'll credit him.
You could call it my head canon. You could call it whatever you want. But as far as I'm concerned, the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga was it. No dual monsters, because dual monsters had.
You could tell how it's getting ridiculous, because I haven't seen the other adaptions, but I might have seen like clips of it and
I've
stuff,
seen
like
snippets here and there. It's like, you have Yu-Gi-Oh GX, you have Yu-Gi-Oh 5G.
The one I found hilarious was the one where they're dueling on motorcycles.
Oh yeah, speed dueling is what it's called, I think.
I mean, just when you thought things couldn't get, more. And I think they made some of those wrist. I don't remember what they call
dual
them.
Discs. They're called dual discs.
Yeah, the dual discs.
Have you seen what those things go for nowadays? I don't think they manufacture them anymore. They go for like hundreds of dollars.
Only hundreds of dollars?
Oh, well, you know how things are. Average, they go for hundreds of dollars.
Well, yeah, I'm not, and that, but I think you cannot actually. I don't think you can actually do a tournament legal duel with them.
No,
Can
yeah,
you?
no, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, so you have to play it a specific way. You know, if
You
you're
have to, yeah, you have to have the map. There's five monster zones, 5 spell trap zones, 1 field zone, the extra deck for the fusion and special summon monsters, and then you've got the the graveyard and the banishment zone. You have to do it with that
right.
format. Which oh yeah, that's something else I'd like to point out is that I've been dueling with Master Duels. It's on my phone, which is pretty fun. When Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links came out about 7 years ago, I started playing that, but then which they had the original characters, but then once they started introducing the GX, I kind of checked out.
So I never actually got into playing.
So here's an interesting thing, because Yugi and Kaiba both had very like decks not built around their top cards, but built around their but just with a specific like strategy in mind. I didn't realize that you can actually, even with the current 60 card limit, create a Dark Magician or a Blue Eyes specifically themed deck, all with monsters and spell and trap cards specifically geared towards those, in support of those monsters.
Yeah, I think
only built off of that.
To this day, the Blue Eyes White Dragon is my favorite of the monsters. And I remember when we used to live in Japan, and I would like go to the convenience stores and I would buy the Yu-Gi-Oh packs. Like, remember when Mom would take us to like Daiesho and stuff, and we, whenever we had like allowance day and something, and we'd use that on buying Pokemon packs.
Yep.
And then Yu-Gi-Oh started getting really big when I was in middle school. And, after school, I'd like go hang out at a friend's house and stuff, and we'd go over all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that they had, and then I'd try to, buy packs at the convenience stores and stuff too. And I'm not sure if they sell if convenience stores are selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards at, more likely you have to go to, you have to go to some of the bigger, more department store type places. But I remember that, I was able to find, and that there used to be, like they would talk about how there was a strategy for trying to find a pack that had a rare card or something, because not all packs, you buy a 5-pack for 150 yen, but not all, it wasn't guaranteed to have a rare card. Like, if you remember, when we would buy the Pokemon cards, a rare card was always guaranteed, whether it was a normal rare card or a shiny rare card. And of course, that's before you got like 15 different types of rare cards in Pokemon now. And one of the cards I was able to find was a Blue Eyes White Dragon. And it was actually like, it wasn't so much a foil as much as it was kind of a rare type foil too. So that was, fun times.
Something that I consider rather ironic. Usually light and dark, usually in most adaptions of media just across the board, whether it's like ancient myths or whether it's like the modern day adaptions, the light is considered the good guys and the dark is considered the bad guys. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's ironically switched, because Yami Yugi, which literally translates to Dark Yugi, is the protagonist, and he uses the Dark or Black Magician, depending on what the translation, as his main card. Whereas Seto Kaiba, who is who at times he was a straight up bad antagonist. But he uses the he used the blue eyes, which in the game is a light card. So it's the dynamics are switched in that regard. Which, to be fair, if you read the manga, Yugi had a dark sense of humor.
Yes.
In the early episodes.
Yami Yugi had a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah, it wasn't until later that he started to kind of straighten out. And I think part of that was because his friends and Yugi Muto were influencing him in that regard.
So anyway, to kind of close out about Kazuo Takahashi, Konami and their official statement: we are shocked and saddened to hear the sudden passing of Kazuo Takahashi. We are deeply grateful for the wonderful Yu-Gi-Oh universe that he has created. Our thoughts are with his friends and family at this difficult time. Together with his countless fans, we pledge to carry on the Yu-Gi-Oh legacy with all the love and care it deserves. And I think that's a pretty fitting statement for Konami to put out, because, I think without this game, Konami...
That's one of their cash cows.
Yes, definitely. Because without Yu-Gi-Oh, Konami would probably not be where they're at in terms of influence within the gaming community or, the culture community. I don't know if, because I don't really hear about much successful games outside of Japan. I mean, obviously you got, I don't know if you remember the game Metal Gear Solid. I think when we used to live in Japan, I think one of our neighbors had the game, and I think you and I would try to play it. It was kind of like...
I was ever interested in playing Metal Gear Solid. There was just...
Well, and then it's like spawned, I don't know, a franchise. Kind of surprised they haven't made a movie yet, but anyway, but...
I heard one might be in the works.
So, but I know one of the other games that it's really big in Japan. You can't play it outside of Japan because of regional restrictions. They do have a really big mahjong game that's in Japan. So I know that's really big.
Which funny enough is actually a Chinese game.
Yeah. So actually, there's variations to mahjong. There's Chinese mahjong.
So funny thing, whenever I hear mahjong, I think about a line in the original Kung Fu Panda where Poe's father, aka Jack Black's big panda, who's a goose, tells him, "So you are going to take over the restaurant, as I did from my father, who got it from his father, who won it from a friend in a game of mahjong." Yeah, so a geese inherited it from a geese who inherited from a geese who won it from a pig. It's like, that's part of what made the Kung Fu Panda franchise really good, is their sense of humor. But Jack Black has enough of a sense of humor to where he can often make stuff like that work.
So yeah, mahjong. I know there's a Chinese variation, there's a South Korean variation, and then there's the Japanese variation, which
there's an episode of what's it called, of Midnight Diner that's themed around mahjong.
And then there's like the American variation, kind of works for some reason. It works similar to like kind of like a solitaire type thing, and basically you're just
that's understandable, considering that's how we're more familiar with solitaire than we are about mahjong.
Now I have last year I used to go to this mahjong club, and maybe sometime I might try to do it again, but it was...
How much money did you lose?
No, they don't bet. You just pay an entry fee. And then the so that supports that club because they sell snacks, they buy snacks and all that stuff too. So that they don't gamble, only in Japan and China and all that. No, if you did that here, you get in trouble. So they don't do that. But I actually won the last time I was there. I think I'd gone there like 4 times, and I won what they usually do is they run like a tournament. So you play a few rounds, and then depend on how much points you scored in each round determines if you're going to play for the championship round or if you're going to play for, the next level down.
I think the World Series of Poker works like that.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'm not certain.
So, anyway, so that's, yeah. I'd love to play with people and stuff, but I think just life is a bit too busy. And I know that, they normally run it on the
there's Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments at this one gaming store in Hanford, and I've wanted to go, but like I said, when I bought my first number of packs, I realized these are not very powerful cards. I need something more than that. So hopefully I can
you'll get something out of that.
Hopefully I can field a more competitive deck. Well, here's the thing. This thing cost me $20.
How many packs are in there?
There are, each box contains 4 5-card packs for a total of 20 ultra rare. So that's why this is so expensive. It's all ultra rare cards.
So how many cards are in there?
20.
20, and they're all ultra rare cards?
Yeah, so I basically spent $1 a card.
Yeah, that's like a premium. Remember the premium packs in Japan?
Yeah.
I still got some. Still got some unopened ones. It's like I'm a try and Just imagine if we tried to, if we kind of got this into being kind of a trading cards. We could have a trading card session. Interacting with people. There's a sports card shop by my house, and on Wednesdays and Saturdays, they host kind of like it's kind of a get-togethers of other card collectors and people in the area who sell their own cards and stuff. So you'll see all these people.
So it's like a little card swap meet.
Yeah, exactly. And then last time I was in there, I was passing through and I see this one guy. He's got his phone, on a little stand, and he's actually live streaming, opening up all these cards, all these. That particular card shop is geared more towards sports and stuff, so they have a lot of sports. They do sell some Pokemon cards. They don't sell. I have not seen them sell Yu-Gi-Oh. The one thing I know is that baseball cards. They got oversaturated in like the late 80s and the 90s. So
I remember. I never was into buying them, but I remember getting them as gifts.
Right.
And like sometimes getting them in the boxes. So I kept those cards just because my thought was, well, they might be valuable someday, but
No, yeah, but those particular cards, from the late 80s to the 90s, those particular decks, they're like somewhere between 700 and 800 cards per set. And, because you gotta have all the MLB players,
Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh, I think as it stands right now, has over 10,000 cards. 10,000 different cards. So Pokemon right now is like, I think they're at 800 Pokemon right now.
Wow, only 800?
Only 800. They're not even at the 1,000 mark yet.
See, I do have some completed Yu-Gi-Oh! What did they call those?
Packs?
Not starter. Expansion packs. I've completed some of those. And then I've completed some of the... Oh, booster packs. That's what they were called. Booster packs. I've completed some Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster packs, Japanese booster packs, and I've also completed some Pokemon booster packs. I'd be kind of curious to see how much those are worth, so maybe if I can, I'll have to make a trip up there sometime.
I'm gonna be honest. Some like I still have my Pokemon collection somewhere.
But here's the thing.
I'm not that collection. I'm gonna die with that collection.
Here's the fun thing.
My descendants, or I hope I eventually have descendants. If not, then my heirs, they could do whatever they want with it. But I'm gonna keep. It's like some things to me are just so sentimental. I'm gonna die in possession of that. After that,
well, here's the sad thing. Here's the sad thing about all those baseball packs from the 80s and 90s, is that your Pokemon collections are probably worth more than a few of those sets combined.
Like you said, they got oversaturated.
Right, it got oversaturated. It's like some of those sets. A set of like 800 cards is worth like $5.
$5?
$5.
800 cards for $5?
$5.
Well, like you said, they were oversaturated. They probably had like millions of those cards printed off.
Yeah. Anyway. So, rest in peace, Kazuo Takahashi, and thank you for giving us Yu-Gi-Oh! That was your magnum opus. So, yeah. So, Matthew, let's move.
Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about this. I know I'll just mention this, and then we'll and then we can. What happened to Dos Anjos' nose, or is it the lighting?
It might be the lighting.
It's got to be the lighting. I don't remember.
Sure looks like the lighting.
I don't remember his nose being that shape.
So what were you going to say?
The unique thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it actually had 2 anime adaptations. The first one was based off of the first, I don't know how many
before,
chapters, but basically the gaming chapters. The ones where it was a different game every week.
Right.
The second one was Duel Monsters, and it was
right. Once Kazuki realized what he had, then he kind of pivoted to that particular run.
Which, to be fair, there were times interspliced where there were some where he would go back to the one game format, but it's like he always returned, and I think he really tried to see if he couldn't do the dungeon dice. Because I remember,
I think they kind of did delve into that. Like they would make, like I remember that there were some video games in Japan made based on dungeon dice. Because I think
there is a pack. I know they made at least one pack based off of dungeon dice.
Yeah, I think he kind of did want to expand on that, but I think it was just the Duel Monsters version just was too popular to overshadow any other games that he probably wanted to produce.
Well, and to be fair, it kind of did go into the mythology that eventually branched out, because we eventually found out that it's Pegasus based the character who created the games in universe, who, depending on the translation, was either named Maximilian Pegasus or Pegasus J. Crawford. I don't understand why they had to change his name. Maximilian Pegasus sounds pretty. That doesn't sound like a weird non-English name. Anyways, so he created the game based off of Egyptian mythology. We find out that Yami-Yugi is actually the soul of an ancient pharaoh, and that during his time they actually did stuff similar to Yu-Gi-Oh. So to the Duel Monsters format. So it ended up going full circle and playing into the whole Egyptian theme anyways.
Yep. All right, so Matthew, UFC Fight Night from yesterday, and took place at 6 p.m. Pacific time at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Which we mentioned off air. It was actually a very good thing that the UFC decided to invest in a home arena, because most of the stateside fights took place at the UFC Apex during the pandemic.
So, Dos Anjos versus Fiziev was the main event, but let's get into the prelims first. So, if I'm looking at this, there were 5 preliminaries, so we'll make sure
I'm just going to tell you right now, these guys are all up-and-comers.
Yes, I don't recognize anyone, obviously, because I've been out of the UFC scene.
Well, you're not going to know these guys, because these guys are literally on they're not that many fights into their UFC contracts. These are like all recent signees.
So anything that really stood out to you about any of these? Well, let's cover the first.
No, not really. Not really.
Not really? Okay.
You can try if you want, but I'm just going to tell you right now, nothing stood out.
Okay. And then we've got the other.
Except for no. You know what? I take that back. Antonina Shevchenko. Oh, and Courtney Casey. Antonina is the older sister. I don't know why.
Valentina.
I don't know why I put quotes, but she's the older sister of Valentina. But for some reason, despite being the same genetic, if you looked at pictures next to each other, they've got like, except for the fact that Antonina is taller, they've got similarly shredded bodies. But so they're both these genetic athletic freaks, but for some reason Antonina can't. And they've shown that they've got similar abilities, but for some reason Antonina, despite winning this, can't seem to pull off a good enough winning streak. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think she'd want to face her sister anyways.
Well, yeah, I mean, normally you would either go up or down a weight. I mean, that's pretty much how you would do it. And looking at the
Valentina fought at bantamweight before they had a flyweight division for the longest time, and she gave Amanda Nunes 2 runs for her money twice. Even like the alpha version of Amanda Nunes, the GOAT version of Amanda Nunes, who's going in there and finishing fighters, and went up a division and defeated Cyborg, defeated Ronda Rousey.
I remember when you and I don't know if that was probably the last time you and I went together to go watch something, but yeah, that whole Buffalo Wild Wings went up, and when she was taking out Cyborg like that. But yeah, it's a split decision, so she barely managed to convince the judges that she was the better fighter in that fight.
In talking with some people online about it, they're talking about how maybe just the fact that she's taller, how the formula of her being the athletic, it just doesn't work out, because there's more limb to grab, and there's more limb to have to throw a punch or whatever it is. Not to mention, she's not the grappler that Valentina is. That might also play into it. Valentina has a judo black belt. I think she actually won the Kyrgyzstani judo national championship or something like that. So she's a well-rounded fighter. She current bantamweight champion Juliana Pena, she choked her out. She's won wins by armbar. She's won wins by submission. So she's a well-rounded fighter. It's just that her top base is her stand-up because she was a Muay Thai champion. Valentina just has the doesn't have the same grappling base. So that might also play into it because she can't work on the ground same way that Valentina can.
Okay, so yep, and so let's go.
I think Tresean Gore has been around for a while, but yeah, there's some of these guys, they've been around for a while, but they're like either contender or gatekeeper status depending on where they are. So
it looks like there was 6 fights.
Michael Johnson has been around for a while. I would actually describe him as a gatekeeper. So he was one. I forget which number he was, but he was part of that 29-0 of Khabib.
Oh. So anyway, these first 2 fights.
Jared Vanderlei and Chase Sherman. They're actually, they've been around for a while.
Mm-hmm. And Ayman Zahabi and Ricky. I think, have we seen Ricky Tercios fight?
I'd like to say he's been around for a little bit too, but again, he hasn't really accomplished anything. The one thing to remember about the fight nights, they're basically for guys to get some
fights in.
Yeah, they're basically for guys to get some fights in. It's, during ye olden days, it would be the UFC undercards where they'd get their fights in, or there was just more of a regional circuit. But in the UFC now, the fight nights are for them. The fight nights, the UFC on ABC, was there was a UFC on ABC? I forget when. Recently, UFC on ESPN. So just the secondary events, they're to get fighters to get experience in, and then just depending on who it is, a veteran might head the main event who's trying to build back up to maybe a title shot or something.
Okay, so let's get into the second half of the main
Some
card.
are more exciting than others, but this one, Said Nurmagomedov,
yeah, I remember.
He's Khabib's brother. No, he's not his brother, is he? I'd like to say his cousin. I think he's his cousin.
And then I think I remember Douglas Silva de Andrade.
Yeah, he's been around for a while too.
And I think
he's from Shuto.
I think I might have heard of Kyle Barallo, and then I remember Armen Petrosian.
Yeah, he's been around too.
Yeah. So anyway, was there anything of note to you in this fight, or in these fights?
Not really.
It's it just went, huh?
It just went.
I love
this even though there were finishes on this fight card, there was nothing extremely spectacular about it.
Impressive. But so it looks like Rafael Viziev.
He's actually on the uptick. He's a contender. He's going up there, and Rafael dos Anjos is a former lightweight champion. So he's trying to build himself back up too, and of course the lightweight title's vacant. So all the lightweights are trying to make a case that they should get the shot at the
shot at the title.
Yeah, the vacant title.
I guess this hurts Dos Anjos' case for it now because he got. I mean, well, how close was the fight in terms of, because it's an 18 seconds into the 5th round, if I'm reading this.
There were moments where Dos Anjos was looking like the Dos Anjos that made it to the title, but then you see he lost at the beginning of the 5th round. So
okay, so Matthew, what's the next UFC event that
I believe
you're likely to be seeing?
Now is that the one that I think the next one is probably going to be the UFC on ABC.
Okay, well, let's see here.
That is something that it was nice to see. Oh yeah, this is going to be a good one.
This is so.
Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez. These guys are. I think they both challenge. Did Rodriguez challenge for a title? Ortega has twice. I'm trying to remember if Rodriguez has challenged for the title.
Okay, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, this of note, Rodriguez had a knockout. I forget which year it was. 2018, 2019. It was 2018. He had a knockout of the year when he went against the Korean Zombie and did this. The Korean Zombie was winning that fight. Yair did this like uber impressive, like spinning back elbow. It's like he had to do this like sideways vertical and caught the chin, and Chan Sung Jung just collapses. So this guy, I'm still trying to remember if he challenged for the title or not. If he hasn't, he will at some point in his career, bar like a significant injury.
Okay, so yeah, that's gonna be this coming Saturday.
Curtis Blades, Curtis Razor Blades versus. Oh no, wait. Oh, that's
That's gonna be the following event.
Yeah, that's the following. Well, let's look at that. Let's look at that fight card. The Ortega Rodriguez fight card.
Okay, so.
The Karate Hati Michelle Waterson versus Amanda Limos, who is up on the rise.
Okay.
Hard to tell who's going to be fighting Carla Esparza for her first defense, but that definitely has title implications.
Okay.
Li Jianli, Mohammed Sokolov. Those guys are up and comers. Match now.
Sumo Daiesho.
Mongolian? I'm trying to remember if there's a Mongolian. Yeah, I think he's Mongolian, I'd like to say.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense. And then Shane Burgos, Charles Jourdain. And then Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate. Now, that's interesting because I know she had a kid a while ago, but somehow she's back in the UFC.
Oh. 2. Lauren Murphy's a mother as well, but her kid's, like, grown. Well, not grown, but, like, a teen.
Okay, so Miesha Tate's still around, huh?
What happened was she came out of retirement. And she's been doing decent. I'm wondering if the winner of this... Oh, wait a minute. Murphy just fought Valentina. So, I would like to say if Tate wins, she might have...
Yeah,
just depending on things, she might get a shot.
So I'm noticing, that Tate's fighting a flyweight bout.
I think I can't remember if she never fought a flyweight in the UFC because at the time there was not a flyweight division. But I'm trying to remember if she fought a flyweight before the UFC. There wasn't a flyweight division in Strikeforce. So it didn't happen there. It had to have been before the UFC. If she ever did fight flyweight.
Okay, so that would have been her preferred weight, but all she could do was bantamweight. But unfortunately for her, Rousey stood in the way until Tate had her shot at
Holly.
So, and then of course,
with her last second like shoot for the bleachers, like desperation takedown. Holly had been dominating that fight. She'd been keeping Miesha at the distance, stopped her from doing the takedowns, hadn't gotten the opportunity to. If Ronda had actually properly played her game and used her grappling to her advantage instead of trying to do the idiotic Edmund Tarverdian strategy of trying to box with a world champion boxer, then it probably would have looked a little bit more competitive, where she's trying to go in there, she's trying to utilize her grappling against a kickboxer. But instead, Ronda does the stupid Edmund Tarverdian striking because she knocks out a subpar striker, and she gets knocked out in the second round by a kickboxer. These idiots. I don't know how Edmund Tarverdian got the credit that he did. The guy was never a good coach.
Oh, gosh.
And then Misha does what Ronda should have done, tried to go for the striking. It was kept competitive, but she just wasn't able to get in. And then she goes for one desperation takedown, and I think it was like halfway through the fifth. She was going to lose. It was halfway through the fifth. She goes in for a desperate last-minute takedown, is able to somehow get her down, and then sinks in the rear naked choke. Holly refuses to tap and just does this before her arms go. Technical submission. Misha Tate wins the title.
So
and then loses to Amanda Nunes at UFC 200.
Yeah. Anything to note on these prelims?
Let's see. Ricky Simone, he's been around for a while. Is he in his 30s? I guess he would count as a veteran. I hate to call him a gatekeeper because I never really saw him as that, but that's essentially what he is. I have no idea who those two middleweights are.
Okay.
I'd like to say Billy Carantillo I've heard of. Haven't heard of Biagio. Dustin Jacoby, I'd like to say I've heard of him. I think
Dao Jung, he's probably Korean.
Probably not related to Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung, because Jung is about as common as Smith in terms of percentages.
And then we've got a couple
Dwight
of...
Grant I have heard of.
Who?
Dwight Grant I have heard of, but he's doesn't quite stick out. No, that's not the same Burns. Yeah, he's not Herbert Burns. I don't think he's related to Gilbert Burns.
Okay.
There's the Burns brothers in the UFC, but I don't. It's probably one of those things where the what's it called, they've got the same name, but he's probably Brazilian, so it's probably a Portuguese name, but it's and that. I'm just going to call him an Eastern European. I have no idea who that is. Phil Rowe, the name sounds familiar. I have no idea if this Nurmagomedov is related to Khabib.
And then
Abubakar Nurmagomedov.
Then I remember Jessica
Penne. I've met her before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's one of the few women who's actually my height in the world of MMA. Well, because it's the women. It's like those women are they're cutting weight. Yeah, they're tall and they're cutting weight. Emily Ducati, is this her first fight out of Invicta?
I gotta figure these are probably first timers if they don't have official pictures.
Emily she's gonna be a first time UFC fighter, but Emily Ducati, I'm pretty sure, has been cutting her teeth in Invicta, like so many women before. I think she's cutting her. This is her UFC debut, and it's the first one out of Invicta.
All right.
Have we talked about what One Championship is doing?
No, enlighten me.
Earlier this year, they signed a broadcast deal with Amazon. This is the first exclusive MMA deal on Amazon.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the eventual goal is to bring One Championship stateside.
That'd be interesting too.
It would be interesting, but here's the thing. They're going to have the same problems that Pride did when they came stateside. Unified rules. No. Yeah, so no stomps, no knees to the head of a grounded opponent, no kicks to the head of a grounded opponent. You can do elbows, which they can do in one championship, but... And drug testing, which I don't know if one does drug testing. Speaking of which, one of the most sketchy things I ever heard of, and there was a lot of sketchy stuff that happened in Pride. One of the most sketchy things I've ever heard of, fighter Enson Inoue, actually, he appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast ages ago, and he actually provided a copy of his Pride contract. It said no drug testing whatsoever. So these guys were probably hopped up on who knows what.
Well, some of those guys did look a bit buff. I remember some of those guys.
Well, the Smashing Machine documentary, they showed that Mark Kerr was shooting up Roy's up the yin yang.
Okay, well, that's...
But that's the goal with one championship. Which, to be fair, one championship did actually have a deal on TNT, but they only broadcast 3 events. But to be fair, the fights on those events it was one of those sad things where, you know, you had all this promise, but a lot of the fights on those events were duds. It happens, though. We did get to see Mighty Mouse on there.
That's true.
Get knocked out in the second round versus, like I said, one of those kicks to the head of a grounded opponent. No, it was a knee to the head of a grounded opponent.
I
really would like to see. I'm gonna be honest. I really would like to see those instituted stateside. Like, you know, some people have said no, there shouldn't be, but I'm just like, I'd like to see some of the stuff.
So, Matthew, let's close out with day 1 of Sumo, and it's in Nagoya, and so I thought, Kinta Mayama, you know, he puts videos together and just to see what he has, and I just thought we'd kind of go over really quick the last 5 matches of day 1 with the Sekiwaki and the Ozeki and the Yokozuna. So, you know, Terunofuji won the Basho last time with a 12-3 record. So the quality, the level of sumo last Basho is a bit low, and as you're probably aware, you know, without Hakuho, it's kind of anyone's game. Anyone's game now, even with Terunofuji. And, you know, like we know, he's not healthy. And he's kind of the in-between guy before, you know, there's going to be that next
generation.
You know, the next...
It would be nice if he won one Basho as a Yokozuna.
Who?
Terunofuji.
He's won 3.
Oh, okay.
I think. Is that right? Yes, he's won 3 Yusho as Yokozuna. So he's got it. And his total is 7 right now. As a whole. So he's got it. It's just that, you know, he doesn't have long because of his knee problems and other health problems. And
it was nice to see him get to the top. It's just a matter of how much he can capitalize on that.
Yeah,
he's Mongolian too, right?
He's Mongolian, yes.
Yeah, so it's just a matter. Well, let's see. Hakuho is staying because he's forming his own Beya. It's like, what would Terunofuji do?
So
would he stay or go back to Mongolia?
Well, he I think as soon as he got to, I think as soon as he either, there was some point where I think when he got back into the salaried ranks, he did apply for Japanese citizenship. You know, he'd been there long enough to be able to do that. And I think he recently acquired it. So that means that he's eligible to stay.
Now remind me, what are the requirements for Japanese citizenship? Because technically, if you're on Sumo, you're on a work visa.
Yes, I think technically you'd be on a work visa because you're earning money.
So under Japanese immigration law, can you apply for? Wait. Is there such thing as residency?
Yes, the green card.
Yeah, there's a green card. So,
but here's the catch: you have to have lived in Japan consecutively for 10 years. And you have to be earning a decent income.
Okay, well, if you're in the salaried rank,
if you're in the salaried ranks, then you're earning a decent income, and
getting a.
So the difficult thing is getting a stock/kabu to stay in the kyokai if you want to be in there. In order to be a kabu owner in the kyokai, you do have to have Japanese citizenship, which is why any of the foreigners, which, you had Akebono, Konishiki, Musashimaru, and now Hakuho, Kakuryu was another Yokozuna, and now Teruno Fuji, and a couple other foreigners too, like Kota Oshu is also in the kyokai, Kyokutenho, who was he fought the most matches in the top division. He was from Mongolia, and he was viewed as kind of like as a mentor to Hakuho, also. I
thought Hakuho's mentor was the previous record holder.
Well, he looked to him as a mentor also, but Kyokutenho was like okay, I don't know if you call him a mentor or not, but someone that he looked up to and respected. That'd be a good way to put it out, because Kyokutenho fought until he was like 41 or something like that. So he was, not a lot of sumo wrestlers in the salaried ranks reach 40. We know that.
Yeah, because you have to be X amount of weight, and sumo is one of those sports that's definitely, well, let's face it, the majority of sports, the majority of just normal sports that are like at a national level or something like that makes money or whatever it is, you're not typically going to reach 40. Like the LeBrons, the Michael Jordans, the Kobes, the Tom Brady's, the Randy Couture's, name any athlete who was in their 40s and actually competitive, they're exceptions to the rule. Most of the time, if you are an athlete, you'll be lucky if you make it into your 30s.
Well, because you are putting a lot of strain on your body, so the risk of injury is going to be there, no matter which sport you're playing.
Like Michael Phelps didn't even make it to his 40s.
Yeah, I think when he did that one medal run where he won like what was it, like how many medals did he win that one time? I mean, he completely dominated.
Are you talking about total, or are you talking about the time when he made the 8 in one Olympics?
Yeah, it was the 8 medals in one
the 8
Olympic
medals. The 8 gold medals in one Olympics.
Right. I mean, did he compete after that?
He competed in one or two Olympics after that. He holds the record for the most cumulative medals, and most of those are gold.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of that. I mean, it's hard to win one gold, let alone 8.
Well, and let's remember the previous holder of total medals, not Mark Spitz. Throw Mark Spitz out because he just had the one Olympic record. The previous holder for the most Olympic medals was a Soviet women's gymnast, and that was back when women's gymnastics was more about dance competition and artistry, not where it is nowadays, where you're like doing the intense pole vaults, you're doing the intense, like it's all intense events.
Yeah, gymnastics is really, the routines that they do and all has evolved so much, even from, if you look at Olympic, gymnastics events from the like 80s and stuff like that. It just evolved. It evolved so much.
Well, let's throw another example out there. Tiger Woods. Golf is a pretty low impact sport. How far did how old was Tiger when he retired?
Well, because he's in his 40s or something like that, right? Or is he in his 50s?
And he even had several injuries.
Yeah, he's had injuries.
Before that major car accident. The reason why he's not full-time anymore is because of that major car accident.
Which we won't get into what led to that. That's a whole nother can of worms that we don't even care about. But yeah, you're right. It's
the most controversial we got into was talking about the Japanese political scene today. Let's not get into controversial any more than we have to today.
Yeah, but if you have a really bad injury, it's going to be hard to come back and compete in the top form that you were.
But yeah, so going back to it, like I said, any competitive sport, you're not typically going to see athletes in you're typically not going to see athletes in their 40s. It's rare to see them in their 30s. So it's just that's just how it is. Because regardless of the sport, it's just high impact. Like I think the gal who had the most Olympic appearances is actually a skeet shooter. Mm. So technically that's an Olympic sport, but you're literally just shooting a gun.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that's let's be honest, there's not a whole lot physically exerting about holding a gun and shooting at a flying disc.
So let's just really quick, just kind of go over the last 6 matches of the day, and then Matt, to get your opinion about this. So go ahead and start this off then. So we have Sekiwaki Daiesho versus Tamawashi, who is the current Iron Man of Sumo. He's competed in over 1,300 uninterrupted matches in his career. So he has not he's kept himself relatively injury-free throughout the entirety of his close to 20-year. I think he's been wrestling for 18 years now. So let's see.
Who holds the record?
Tell
me afterwards.
Yeah. All right. So you got Daiesho, one of the top 6 wrestlers, goes down.
Okay, now tell me, who holds the record?
Okay, so I think the record, I have to go back and look at it, but I believe it was Oshio had the record for most appearances. And then there was another wrestler who had most consecutive appearances. And that person, when he retired, had also not missed. I think the record for most consecutive bouts fought is something like 1,600. 1,630, I think.
So you said he's at 1,200?
He's currently, I believe, at over 1,300 consecutive matches.
So in theory, how many more basho would he have to do in order to break that record?
To get to the consecutive bouts record?
Yeah.
He would have to get, well, theoretically, it's probably slightly less than 300, but let's just go off 300. That's 20 basho, which is another 3 years at this point.
I don't know. Can he make it?
Well, he's been able to hold his own in the Joy gene, which, as you know, is kind of more the top 25% of the division, I guess. Actually, no, I take that back. More like the top half of the division. So he's been a present mainstay in the top half of the top division. He's not fallen down to the second division in, I think, over 5 years. So he's been consistently in the top. And I think even if he's fallen down low, I think the lowest I've seen him get is, probably around M10 or something.
Okay, well, we'll see if he can do it.
So, Wakataka Kage and Ichinojo. Wakataka Kage is kind of the hot topic right now because he won the Yusho in March.
Try to say that name 5 times fast.
Well, you've got Wakataka Kage. Yes, tongue twister right there. And he's actually the youngest of 3 brothers in sumo right now. Oh. You got Wakataka Kage, and he's the most successful because he's at Sekiwaki, which is the 3rd highest rank in sumo, and then he's won a Yusho. So you've got that. And then he's up against the brick wall Ichinojo, who weighs like 500 and some odd pounds. And we'll see.
Nowhere near the record.
Yep. So let's see how they do here. So Ichinojo gets in on the Mawashi. So does Wakataka Kage, but so it's looking like just Ichinojo just had him. So that means that the 2 Sekiwaki have fallen down now. So not off to a good start for the upper Sanyaku. So now we've got Koronowaka, who's the son of this is Koronowaka the younger, who's son of Koronowaka the elder. And he's also the grandson of Yokozuna Kotozakura, who was the Yokozuna back when. He was kind of a transitionary Yokozuna, I believe, also. And then you've got
Shodai.
Yeah, Karoban Ozeki Shodai. So that means that he had a losing record last basho. If he doesn't win, he doesn't get a winning record this basho, he's going to be demoted to Sekiwaki.
Sekiwaki.
And yes, that's not good. And Shodai has never beaten Koronowaka. So we'll see how this goes here. And
and beat him this time.
Not a good start for Shodai. So he could be in some serious trouble. Okay, so we've got the other Karoban Ozeki, Mitakeumi, who just got promoted in his first basho was in March. He had a pretty good showing there, 11-4, but then he went 6-9 last basho. And apparently he was injured in that basho, but he decided to go the whole way, and he's got the unfortunate losing record to prove it, so he needs to get a winning record too. Up against Takanosho, who is the 3rd Ozeki Takakesho's stablemate. It looks like they have a equal record here. As Kintamayama notes, there was no monoi, which is, when the judges confer. And in my opinion, it probably should have been a Tori Naoshi, which is a redo. But so they gave that to Mitakeumi.
I would agree. It didn't look like I don't think the Gyoji.
Well, the judges didn't call a conference, so they just let it go. You know, what are you gonna do? So you've got Takakeisho, who is the highest ranked Ozeki, and he only managed an 8-7 last basho to prevent all three Ozeki from being Kadoban. And he's up against Kiribayama, who he's got a somewhat strong record against, 7-3. So let's see how they do here. And as you know, Takakeisho is more of a pusher type. But Kiribayama gets inside and forces Takakeisho out. And as Kintamayama notes, the Ozeki continue to be pathetic. So I know a lot of people like to describe Takakeisho as a one-trick pony because that's all he basically does. He just tries and push, his opponents away. If he sees if he sees an opportunity, he might slap him down or something, but that's pretty much it. So, there's people who figure that if they can get inside and get on his belt, he's not going to have a chance of winning. So that means 2 Ozeki are down, both Sekiwaki are down. Only one Ozeki has barely won so far. So defending champion Teruno Fuji versus Abi, and they haven't gone against each other a lot because Teruno Fuji was down in, that's when he was down in the the lower ranks trying to come back. So he's got a 2-run record against Abi so far. So let's see how this one goes. Okay, so Abi is a thruster, and but he managed a last-minute throw, but so what worries?
Teruno Fuji is not doing well.
I think right here, right there, where he went on that left leg. If you kind of go, let me just kind of go back a little.
I kind of saw he had a kind of he had
that right there where he really slams on his left leg. I think that hurt him, because if you notice, he goes off the dohyo and then he was kind of limping a couple of times. He was having to put weight on his right leg. I think he did something to his left leg. So anyway, but credit to Kintamayama, Moti. Thank you as always for putting these videos together. We all love you for that.
I think Teruno Fuji is probably at a point similar to Hakuho, where he's probably should consider hanging it up.
Well, it was obvious from the beginning Teruno Fuji was not going to have a lot of time, but he is the most dominant wrestler right now in sumo, which is why he's the Yokozuna. And at this point, he's just trying to see how far he can go. And, I think the Kyokai and the YDC are a lot more accommodating to him probably than they are against, than they were with Hakuho a bit, because of Hakuho's, more conduct towards the latter half of
his transgressions.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, Teruno Fuji, hey, if he's got to sit out this basho, then he's got to sit out the rest of it, because, if he's hurt himself, then he should do what's necessary and, withdraw. We'll see if that happens or not.
I mean, I don't know if he should hang on until they find another Yokozuna. I mean, have we talked about the Ozeki picture? Is anyone even at the point
the way things are? None of those. I mean, the three Ozeki right now are, well, I mean, if Mitakeumi weren't injured, maybe he might have a chance, in my opinion. But he's never been Yokozuna material. Now, people are saying, hey, maybe Takakeisho probably is the best out of the current three Ozeki. But when he gets hurt, he gets hurt. And he's also easily susceptible to injuries too, which is why he can't really make a strong move. So it's unfortunate that, we've got this scene right now where you've got one Yokozuna who we know he'll probably be lucky to last to the end of next year. You got three Ozeki who are clueless about what they want to do, if they're really motivated or not. And you've got the current crop that's below that is there's just not one that's really stepping up or standing out to be a candidate. Now, they're saying that, the Asanoyama, who was, demoted, suspended because of, violating COVID protocol and lying to the NSK about it, he's coming back this Basho. In fact, he's fighting on day 2. And they're saying he probably still has a chance to be Ozeki or even Yokozuna, but that's still, at least another year away at this point, because he got demoted. He got demoted all the way down to the 4th division. So that means even if he were to, let's say he goes 7-0.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, let's say he goes 7-0 and he wins the Sandanme Championship. He'll probably be promoted to Upper Makushita, but not within the promotion zone. And the promotion zone, if you don't know what the promotion zone is, the top 15 ranks of Makushita, so Makushita 1 through 15. If you go 7-0, if you go 7-0 from Makushita 1 to 15, it's an automatic promotion to the 2nd Juryo division. So even if you were to win the Sandanme, which is the 4th division, the title, the Yusho in that division, he's probably not going to be in the promotion zone in September. So he'll still have to fight there, and then he'll probably do good enough to get into the promotion zone. And then from there, it's another fight, because the promotion zone is where it gets really log jammed, because everyone's fighting to get into the 2nd division. So even if he were to really speed things up, he's going to be, by this time next year, he's probably going to be lucky to be in the top division. So we'll see. We'll see how things are going to go.
We're basically in a transitionary time when, you're just coming off of the era of Hakuho, and you've basically got the young bucks who are trying to prove themselves worthy of being.
Well, and that happened. Post Shiono Fuji, you had a couple of Yokozuna, but they ended up retiring not long after Shiono Fuji did, and you had a period of about, I think, a year and a half to 2 years where there were no Yokozuna. And it wasn't until Akebono was promoted that we finally had a Yokozuna. And then, of course, you had Takanohana come.
Wait a minute. What about the time when Konishiki was on his run and he couldn't? There were 4 Yokozuna above him as an Ozeki.
Right. There were 4 Yokozuna above him.
Oh, that was the Shiono Fuji era?
Yes. Konishiki he came up. He was really prominent during the Shiono Fuji era.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it was.
So then you had Akebono come in, who abated the fears of a foreign Yokozuna not being able to understand the responsibility, and Akebono proved that he knew exactly what responsibility he had when he became a Yokozuna. And then you had the Takanohana era, and then you had the golden age.
So yeah, well, so we'll see. I mean, when we have our episode next week, we'll have to see what happens. After a week, how is everyone doing? So we'll see how the Yusho race looks come next week. So, all right, Matthew. Well, with that being said, where can our viewers find us on social media?
Well, let's see. We for the video, we have YouTube and Rumble. We have not activated the Odyssey yet, but that is in the works. For audio, we have Acast, Apple, Spotify, and Google. And then, of course, we have a Twitter now. So
Yes.
we are working on that.
So the Twitter is at the Samurai Bros. So make sure that you go and give us a follow on there at the Samurai Bros. And we're hoping that we can use that to reach out to, some up and coming people, maybe some people who have wrestled before or fought in MMA. And, we're hoping that as we continue to grow this podcast, that we can, connect with people in the community and have them come on and share their experiences with, the work that they've done. Hey, we'd even like to get some coaches on here and stuff. So again, anyone that would be interested, and so also a call out to Servite High School and to Coach Alan Clinton. Hey, we'd love to have you on just to see. Have a discussion with you about having built up the Servite program and stuff. And there's a couple of people I'd also like to reach out to. So, a lot of things coming up, definitely. So, and you can also find Matthew. He is on, he's got his personal Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow at Matthew Salzer. And then
personal also YouTube, Matthew Salzer.
And then also Matthew runs his MMA website called MMA Freak, MMA-freak.com. And the Twitter for MMA Freak is at MMA Freakout. So also, again, Matthew, thank you for all your insight into the various things of the day with MMA, with sumo, wrestling. And again, we also like to talk about things, with Japanese culture and stuff. So we're hoping to, continue to be doing that. So, so we wish all our viewers the best, and hope you have a great rest of your week. And we will talk to you soon.